I got too much baggage for that, man. I'm too opinionated to be a college coach. But yeah, I mean that, and I love where I'm at. I love Tampa, and I'm in more specifically, I'm in Lutz. It's a quiet area, man. I got a lot of property, and we just we can kind of do our own thing, and don't run the corporate rat race, and I don't have to answer to anybody except for the parents of the kids who I train. So, I just don't think I'm fit for the coaching lifestyle. I don't feel like moving my family around, every so often to do that kind of deal and chase that dream. I just don't have any interest in doing it.
Well, speaking of Florida and the Tampa area, you're born and raised, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
down there. How did Coach Spurrier get you out of Florida and go to South Carolina? Was Florida recruiting you?
Yeah, Florida was Urban Meyer he was probably the heaviest recruiter, to be honest with you. They had this guy named Tebow that was there already, so I didn't feel like sitting around for a couple years behind him. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think between Florida, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and South Carolina, and Louisville was kind of heavy on it in the beginning, but those were definitely the most highly recruited or most recruited people that came out. But Spurrier would tell me one thing, and it always stuck with me and stuck with me to this day. He's like, you can go to Oklahoma, you can go to Notre Dame, go to the Florida, go to these other schools, and be part of their tradition, or you can come to South Carolina where our tradition has been, we suck. So you can take that and build your own legacy. And in a way, I did. It may not all be great, but it was sure as hell fun. And I think we kind of put the University of South Carolina on the map. Those 4 years I was there.
If you didn't go to South Carolina, do you have any idea of where you would have went?
I mean, I was very, very, very close to going to Ole Miss. I was getting ready to commit really like that day, and Coach Ogeron called me and said he's not going to be there. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to go there. Not knowing who the hell the coach is going to be the following year. So yeah, after that, I went up to Columbia a few times and fell in love with the city, fell in love with the program, and yeah, ended up just pulling the trigger on that deal.
What kind of coach was Steve Spurrier to play for? I noticed a couple years ago you were doing some media stuff and looked like you interviewed him. What was that like?
He's very hard headed to deal with. He wants it done his way specifically, and I'm also very hard headed, so it didn't bode very well, and but that's part of the game. And I was a hard headed 18-year-old kid that the entire time he's recruiting me, he told me I can keep my beard, I can keep my long hair. Then in other schools like Coach Shula at Alabama was like, yeah, if you come here, you got to shave your face, you got to cut your hair, you got to look the part. And a couple other schools would tell me the same thing. And Coach Spurrier was really the only guy that said he didn't care. And then I graduated early. I get in there in January, and the first day of practice, he's like, "All right, you're going to shave your face and cut your beard, right?" I'm like, "What? No, I don't. I wasn't planning on doing that at all." And so I didn't do it, and it was just constantly headbutting. I was just extremely hard at. I wish I would have listened, but uh, yeah, he was very difficult to play for. But I didn't do myself any favors.